ዓለማችን በፍጥነት ቅርጿን እየቀየረች ነው። አፍሪካ ለሁለት እየተከፈለች ነው። ኢትዮጵያም የዚህ ገፈት ቀማሽ ናት። ለሁለትም ትከፈላለች። ሳይንቲስቶች በ1 ቢሊዮን ዶላር በጀት የጥልቁን ዓለም ለማወቅ በሚል በሜዲትራኒያን ኦሽን ላይ በኪሎሜትሮች የሚቆጠር ጉድጓድ እየቆፈሩም ሲሆን አሁን እየተፈጠረው የመሬት መሰንጠቅም ከዚህ ቦታ መነሳቱ ደግሞ ሌላ ትኩሳት መፍጠሩም ተነግሯል። በሌላ በኩል ደግሞ የሪፍት ቫሊ መከፈት ሊሆንም ይችላል እየተባለም ሲገኝ ነገር ግን ይሄ አፍሪካንና ኢትዮጵያን ለሁለት የሚከፍለው መሰንጠቅ እውን እየሆነም ይገኛል። ታዲያ ዓለም አቀፍ ሚዲያዎች ስለዚህ ጉዳይ ምን አሉ? አብረን እንከታተል።
Tectonic plates beneath the Earth's surface, which are slowly pulling the continent apart along the East African Rift System. The East African Great Rift. The East African Rift System is a series of rift valleys that extends from the Red Sea in the north to Mozambique in the south. The East African Rift System runs through several countries, including Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. This system is the result of the African plate slowly separating into two separate plates, the Somali plate to the east and the Nubian plate to the west. As the plates move apart, the land between them sinks and forms a rift valley. Over time, the rift valley could continue to widen and deepen until it becomes a new ocean, separating Africa into two distinct land masses. This process could have significant implications for the geography, ecology, and human populations of the region. The East African Rift System, which is responsible for the potential splitting of Africa into two, is a complex geological feature that is still not fully understood by scientists. The Rift Valley extends for over 4,000 kilometers and is home to a wide variety of ecosystems, including lakes, forests, and grasslands. The region is also home to many unique and threatened species, such as mountain gorillas and African elephants. The Rift Valley is characterized by a series of faults that run parallel to each other, forming a series of grabens and horsts. The grabens are the low-lying areas between the faults, while the horsts are the raised areas. The most well-known of these grabens is the Great Rift Valley, which runs from Syria to Mozambique and is home to several large lakes, including Lake Victoria, Lake Tanganyika, and Lake Malawi. The East African Rift System is also geologically active, with frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. The region is home to several active volcanoes, including Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Nyiragongo, and Mount Kenya. These volcanoes are the result of magma rising from the mantle and reaching the Earth's surface. How long till the continent eventually splits? The process of Africa splitting into two is a geological process that is still ongoing and could take millions of years to complete. While the scientific understanding of this process is still evolving, current research suggests that the rate of separation between the African tectonic plates is relatively slow, with estimates ranging from a few millimeters to a few centimeters per year. At this rate of separation, it could take tens of millions of years or more for the African continent to separate into two distinct landmasses. However, it is also possible that the rate of separation could increase or decrease in the future.
African continent broke apart. The face of our planet is continually changing thanks to the shifting of tectonic plates. Fractures may seem, experts say they could teach us a lot about how our world was formed. Have you ever heard of the East African Rift? Neither had most people in Ethiopia until the ground started cracking beneath their feet. The East African Rift is an active continental rift zone in East Africa. And judging by the blank look on your face, it may require more of an explanation before we go any further. Okay, so the rigid outer layer of the Earth is called the lithosphere, and it's broken up into many tectonic plates. Tectonic plates are basically large slabs of solid rock that move relative to each other at varying speeds. When these plates move apart from each other, they cause fractures to be formed at their boundaries. The land remaining in between the two plates starts to sink and forms what's known as a rift valley. This can lead to new
Residents of Nairobi, Kenya experienced an earthquake-like movement at exactly 10:27 p.m. yesterday, which is the 28th of April 2020. This all links to Africa splitting into two continents. Africa is slowly but surely tearing into two. Like anything in geology, it's an extremely long process that will take millions of years, but it will eventually see part of East Africa chip off from the rest of the continent, likely resulting in a new ocean arising between the two land masses. The colossal breakup is associated with the East African Rift System, one of the largest rifts in the world that stretches downward for thousands of kilometers through several countries in Africa, including Ethiopia, Kenya, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Zambia, Tanzania, Malawi, and Mozambique. This rift system means that African plate is splitting into two plates, the smaller Somalian plate and the larger Nubian plate, that are pulling away from each other at a super sluggish pace of millimeters per year. Back in 2018, news of a crack emerging in Kenya went viral, with many claiming that this was evidence of Africa snapping into two before our very eyes. Why this startling scene was related to the East African Rift System? As some scientists reported at that time, this was likely just a highly localized expression of the valley's regular rifting activity. The East African Rift System has been in this current process for around 25 million years ago, and the crack in Kenya was an indirect whisper of what's occurring on the continent. However, in another 5 million to 10 million years, changes in the East African Rift System could result in a drastically different looking world. Around this time frame, we are likely to see a new ocean from between the Somalian plate and the Nubian plate. The great continent of Africa will lose its eastern shoulder, and the vast sea will cut off East Africa. As strange as this may seem, it's worth remembering that Earth's surface is in a constant state of flux. It's just so slow that human experience can't account for it. The appearance of the world as we know is relatively new. The land and sea we see today of Eurasia, the Americas, Africa, Antarctica, and Oceania are the product of the vast tectonic plates that slot together like a jigsaw puzzle. Very slowly, however, these jigsaw pieces move around on a time scale of millions of years. Just think of the split up that the Earth saw around 138 million years ago when South America and Africa divided. If you look at the west coast of Africa and the east coast of South America, you will notice they fit together like two jigsaw pieces, beautifully highlighting how these continents were once joined as one. The departure of East Africa will just be another page in this giant geological storybook. Who knows whether humanity will be around to see any of these changes, but it doesn't look too hopeful.